Openness is that which you already are. It doesn't go away. You don't find it, you don't achieve it, you don't do it. It's that which you were as you came into this world. And it's that which you will be when you leave this world. And it's that which you are in between those two. But we spend a lifetime looking for that. We think we're looking for awakening or enlightenment or peace or freedom or happiness. And yes, that's all part of it. But really, we can wipe out all that seeking when we recognize that in the innermost of ourselves, we already are that openness. What's difficult about it is that our attention, our allegiance, our awareness is given to the person that we think we are. And the person that we think we are is dependent upon the world that we experience, our inner world and our outer world, the inner world of feelings and thoughts and the outer world of circumstances. Openness is that which exists prior to your prejudices, your biases, your opinions, your likes and dislikes, your preferences. To give attention to what the heart knows, not what the mind thinks, is the challenge. To give attention to what the heart knows in all circumstances, in all experiences, in all weathers, in all environments, that is freedom. When I say what the heart knows, I'm not talking about knowledge. I'm not even talking about what the heart wants. I'm not talking about that place, the surface, the outer layer of the heart that covers itself up with self-protection to avoid being hurt, or opens into intimacy when it gets what it wants and feels loved. I'm talking about something deeper than that. The heart is just the doorway. Yeah? But through that doorway, that which you know to be true is what you really want. That which you know to be true is that which you already are. It just gets covered over by the giving of attention to the person that you think you are and the world that it experiences. to come into what you really know to be true is the end of the argument. It's the end of the argument with life. You come to rest in love, as love. And then you are moved by love. You stop being moved by ignorance and start being moved by intelligence. Yeah, ignorance is what happens when you believe your experience, your circumstances, which is overlaid by your preferences, your prejudices, your opinions, your biases. You believe that to be the cause of your happiness or unhappiness. That's ignorance. When you stop giving your attention to that, not waiting for some mythical moment of enlightenment, but in the very nitty-gritty of your life, in the very nitty-gritty of your everyday experience, that's how you wake up. When you give your attention to that which is true, within the push and pull of your experience, then you are moved not by ignorance, but by intelligence. The intelligence of wholeness, the intelligence of love. When truth moves, it becomes love. Love is truth in motion. So in the middle of conflict, in the middle of that which you want to reject, that you want to deny, that you want to run away from, that you want to fight, that you want to make wrong, in the middle of the argument with life as it appears, now and now and now, in the middle of that, turn your attention to what you know to be true, to your deepest longing, to your deepest wanting, which means giving up the argument, giving up the fight, giving up the need to be right, giving up the sense of offense, giving up the sense of injustice, giving up the sense of righteousness, giving up the sense of being hurt, giving up everything that is not love. That's the challenge. That's where it gets difficult, because somehow the person does not want to give that up. Because the person believes that by giving that up, you will be destroyed, or you will be annihilated. That somebody else, or something else, or the world, or life, or God, or the devil or whatever is the victor. And you are the loser. And so the reactive mechanism that is embedded in the personhood rises up. And somehow, in that moment, that seems more worthy of being upheld than love. If you have a good look at your daily experience and be honest, because honesty is the key. Be honest with yourselves, with yourself, where that mechanism of reactivity comes to the forefront and you are so enmeshed with it that you believe it to be true. If you can see that and feel the horror of that, and in that moment recognize how that is the very prison, the very suffering that you're trying to break out of. And in that moment, to ask yourself, not from the mind, but from your beingness, from your innermost, from the most delicate, quiet, tender place in you, what do you know to be true? And what do you really want? Do you want truth? Or do you want the lie? Do you want what is real? Or do you want what is false? If you can be really honest in that, then that whole momentum of reactivity can be brought to a halt, to a pause, and something turns within and rests in the quietness, in the delicacy, in the vulnerability of openness. It's a putting down of the arms. It's putting down the instruments of war. It's a surrender. You don't have to experience yourself as love or experience yourself as openness. Because as long as you're experiencing something, you are still engaging the person in that. You are still engaging the separate self in that, the identity, the self-identity in that. This is prior to that. It is more tender than that, more primary, more naked. It's like what happens when you rest, whether you're resting in silence, maybe. Whether you're resting in those moments before you go to sleep. Yeah, as you fall asleep, you come to rest in beingness, You do not drag your person with you into that. It's as simple as that. It's not about just turning within and denying the world. It's not about turning within and becoming passive. It's not about turning within and becoming a hermit. It's not about turning within and avoiding anything at all. It's not about avoiding your experience. It's about what is primary, what is natural, what is innocent, always being the foundation from which you engage with your experience. It allows the infusion of love into your earthly reality. It is love in action. You don't have to wait till this mythical moment of enlightenment. It's right here in the everyday. You live as that, you move as that, you breathe as that, you sleep as that, because you are that. It's the end of war, the end of seeking, the end of believing yourself to be not good enough, not lucky enough, not worthy enough, not lovable enough, not enlightened enough, not spiritual enough, not quiet enough, not still enough. It's the end of looking for any answer. Because you live naturally. You live as love. So every moment of our earthly life, which is often filled with conflict or disagreement or not liking or fear or challenge or resistance. It's the nature of life, the nature of the sea. Sometimes choppy, sometimes stormy, sometimes still, sometimes clear, sometimes muddy. But every moment of that, every aspect of that, every experience of that, whether it's in our relationships, in our work, in our everyday interactions, everything, every relationship, which is what life is. As long as you're in a body, as long as you're alive, you are in relationship to everything. Has the potential for disagreement, for argument. I don't necessarily mean that you're having a shouting match with anyone, but the argument in your head. I don't like this, I don't want this. I want peace, I want enlightenment. This isn't spiritual. Why does it happen to me? They're right, they're wrong, I'm right. I'm right in feeling hurt. I'm right in feeling hard done by. And so on and so on. That's where the opportunity is, that's where the doorway is, that is the call to love. That is the call to love. Argument is easy. Argument is what we're familiar with. Argument is the habit of millennia. The habit of fight or flight. It's embedded in our physiology. It serves a purpose, but it's taken up everything. It's taken up the whole experience. It's hijacked that which is tender, that which is delicate, that which is quiet, and that which is love. That which is true intelligence in you. So argument is easy. Surrender is not. It's not because we've given 99.9% of our attention to the argument. It's what we've become used to. But the invitation of life is to give attention to the 0.1% that is still alive in you, and to practice that, surrender, to notice that surrender in the moments of quiet, in the moments of silence, in the moments of meditation, in the moments of stillness, in the moments of being in nature or being anywhere, and in the moments before you go to sleep, the moments before you fall asleep. That's a great time to notice. It's a deep relaxation. You practice in those moments, and then you practice in the moments of conflict, of disagreement, of challenge, of rejection, of resistance, of righteousness, and so on and so on. It's like a flower. That opens, appears to open, but actually is already open. Yeah? So it's not about the self, the person, doing the opening. You're not doing anything. It's a whole different dimension, a whole different paradigm, where you stop looking to the person for the answer, and simply fall into openness. The openness that is inherent in this moment. Can cannot be any other way. The openness that is inherent in you cannot be any other way. And then your life and the person experiencing that life will start to be imbued with that love that moves from openness, will start to be imbued with intelligence. And there's a great joy in that. Not the joy that has anything to do with circumstances. It's not conditional on anything. It's not conditional on who you think you are. It's not conditional on what you have or don't have. Joy is given freely where there is openness. Everything is the call to love. Even the greatest horror, the greatest fear, that which we reject the most, that which we want to get rid of the most, that which we believe, if only this wasn't here in my life, either as a circumstance or as an experience, a memory, a feeling, a reliving of something. If only this wasn't here, then I'd be okay. Then I'd be open as love. Then I'd be free. Then I'd be fully awake. No, there is no then. That's a delay tactic. That is a continuation of the argument. Yeah, if you can see and notice and refine your perception, your sensing of where the argument continues to live in you, then the whole thing will come to an end. And it's as simple as that. As simple and as difficult as that. Yeah? Stop looking for awakening and look in your life and be honest in that. As long as there is an argument, you are suffering. You are living in ignorance. You are not living as intelligence. You are not living as the intelligence of love. You are, because the intelligence of love is always alive in you, is always moving in you. But you are not giving your attention to that. You are not giving, when I say attention, I don't mean thinking mind. I mean your allegiance, your devotion, your primary motivation. As long as your primary motivation is what you think and experience and feel, then that's what you'll get more of. If your primary motivation is to end the war within, to end the argument, to surrender everything, to surrender your righteousness against life in response, your stance, put it all down. Don't hold on to your strength. Come into your vulnerability. you can turn your allegiance to that, then everything is okay. You come into a deep okayness with everything, a deep suchness. And then your life starts to sparkle with that. That love, that intelligence starts to penetrate and infiltrate all dusty corners, all cobwebs, all dark, shadowy recesses. Your life starts to shine. It shines because of your inherent nature as love. You become clean. And that cleanness is Godness. It means you don't carry the baggage inherited through lifetimes and millennia of war. Yeah, everybody's talking about doing something about war in the world. Do something about the war in you and the war you bring into the world. That is our responsibility. We talk about cleaning up our environment, cleaning up the world. Clean up the world in you. That is our responsibility. Spiritual practice or awakening or everything that's happening here, this dialogue, this inquiry, this openness, is nothing to do with the person, with the individual. But everything to do with the totality. If you move as love, if you move as intelligence, if you move as openness, if you move as cleanness, then everything that you move into and touch and interact with, everything you have a relationship with, and as long as you are alive, everything is a relationship, will be imbued, infused and touched by that cleanness, by that godliness, by that openness, by that tenderness, by that love, by that intelligence. You don't have to become someone else. You don't have to become more enlightened. You don't have to become more successful. You don't have to become more empowered. You don't have to become anything. Looking in the wrong direction. Whatever your circumstances, whatever the shape and form of your life, whether you're poor or you're rich or you're successful or you're a failure, or whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a meditator, whether you're a spiritual teacher, whether you're an artist, a musician, a dustman, a beggar or a thief, it really doesn't matter. What matters is how clean you are. How open you are. And presence and silence and all these qualities, and joy All these qualities that we seek and want more of in our lives, they simply are the byproduct. They're the result of your shining. They're not commodities to add to yourself so that you become more of something. They're simply the natural outpouring, the natural outcome.